Okay, everybody, it's Tuesday, my day off, and I look like a hot mess with my bed head and my squishy face. I'm putting this down because I don't want to forget. I'm watching Behold Israel, Mir Sephardi, Prophecy Roundtable in Defense of the Pre-Trib Rapture. And I keep trying to wrap my head around this because first they were talking about how God's bride, the church, that he promised that he would keep his bride out of the wrath. It's my understanding, and I've got to really dive into this. There are two wraths, okay? Okay, so Jan Markle just said that the church is to experience man's wrath and Satan's wrath, but not God's wrath. God's wrath, they're attributing to the stuff that goes down during the tribulation period of the Bible. It's my understanding, and I'll have to double check and give you guys some references, but I learned the difference. Israel is the bride of God the Father, okay? The church is the bride of Jesus Christ. If God the Father is going to allow his bride to go through the tribulation, okay, what makes you think Jesus is going to spirit us up in the air so we miss all of it? Why does Jesus' bride miss it and God's bride doesn't? God the Father. The other part of it is God the Father's wrath. I learned from Amir's book that it was God's wrath is really about how everyone has treated Israel this whole entire time. And like how they've not been punished. The things that they've done to Israel that have gone unpunished is what's being stored up in his wrath that's got to get let go. I don't know. Right? So God the Father has his bride. God the Son has his bride. My other thought was the Holy Spirit. Are they about the rest? The children? The offspring? Of everybody? Because the whole point of the Bible is to save humanity as a whole. So through God the Father, Israel's taken care of. Through God the Son, the church age believers are taken care of. And then there's a whole group of other human beings that have lived on the earth and died on the earth that didn't make it into these first two groups. I don't know. And I don't think anybody's trying to hurt anybody. And then this is going to be my last point before I finish watching, because I don't even know if I'm going to post this on the YouTube. Because it's just a bunch of questions and me looking weird and tore up from the floor up and being all, I don't think this is what we think it is. Revelation 3:10. When he's talking, and remember in 3, if you listened before, you can go back and listen. This is where Jesus is walking through and the angels. He's talking to the 7 churches. Now, at the time when John of Patmos wrote this was 7 literal physical churches. Now that time has passed, those 7 churches, I believe, represent trends that can happen when you're a believer. When you're part of the Church of Christ, these are a few different things, situations, scenarios that you can move through. When you're reading them that way, there's probably a lot of believers who will read and go, oh, I remember feeling like that, and then I changed and I did this, okay? So Revelation 3:10, Janet put up with reference to God keeping us out. It says, Revelation 3:10, because you have kept my command to persevere, I also will keep you from the hour of trial which shall come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. He speaks of an hour of trial. That's markedly different than a tribulation period of 7 years. Do you see what I'm saying? So Now they're arguing post-trib, pre-trib, past-trib, trib, when are we going to get raptured? What about the initial argument? Are we going to get raptured the way that we've been believing for 1,000 years? Almost 2,000 years? And keep in mind, everybody, I'm not saying that Paul and all the apostles were wrong. It was 2,000 years ago. I challenge every one of you to close your eyes and imagine being shown a scene. Let's not even go 2,000 years in the future. Imagine you're your great-great-great-great-grandmother or father. And you're hanging out in your home with your family and you're doing your life and you go to sleep and then God gives you a dream. And he shows you a dream. So you're back in the 1800s and he shows you a dream of maybe your grandchildren around this time, which is 120 years in the future, right? If you're your great-great-great-grandmother or father back in the time, how would you explain the things that you saw in your dream? There's going to be interesting turns of phrase, things that you can't explain. Caught up in the air, changed in an instant. I don't know, there's a lot here, everybody, and I feel like I'm scattershot studying, and I don't feel like I'm doing a good service to the people, and I just have to get over that. But we will keep diving in, and we keep trying to answer these questions, because no matter what I keep reading, my mind doesn't change, right? I cannot let go of this idea that we're supposed to stay here on earth, and that this caught up in the air interpretation of the word that so many of us, I'm one of them, not anymore, but I was one of them, okay? So many of us have grabbed a hold of. And keep in mind, the whole point on this round table that I'm watching, people go to this because of hope. We're looking around the world and it's super crazy, not like anything we've ever seen, not like anything our parents or our grandparents or ancestors have ever seen. It's totally different and we don't know what to do and we're freaked out. My answer always is lean into the Bible, kids. So, Tuesday morning out, and tomorrow's my 53rd birthday.